welcome to the Wine O'Clock Show. Jayson and Aaron Brunsdon, cheers.
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 Thank you for having us.
Thank you, and thanks for coming in. And we're about to share a very, I think, unique story. Little three-part series of fashion and life. And we're going to dive straight in.
Okay.
I guess both of you, especially you, Jayson, you've been in the industry for over 25 years. What was it that drew you to the industry?
I worked out the other day, I've been in it 32 years
32?
now. Yeah,
Wow.
I started when I was at fashion college.
Wow.
Yeah, I was making clothes and selling them at Paddington markets while I was still at college. So it's a really long time. In fashion years, it's about 150 years. Yeah. What drew me to it? I think, it was a really exciting era as well. And when I was at about 13, I watched Funny Face, and it was almost like a send-up of the fashion industry. And I was mad about Audrey Hepburn. She looked so beautiful, and I really wanted to it really attracted me into that world, and I think that was my initial attraction to it. It was just really exciting, It's a really exciting industry when you're young.
Yeah. Did you know you always wanted to do fashion, or did you have another path before you went into fashion?
I was really interested in film, and I applied for NIDA for costume design, and I didn't get in. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, sorry.
I learned something after 18 years.
Yeah.
So I also applied to Sydney College of the Arts, which is now UTS, and I got in there. So I went and did that instead.
How did you, what was the inspiration behind starting the business of Jayson Brunsdon Designs and the Black Label Designs, and what's the value of the business?
Well, I had already been in the industry for 20 years, pretty much, by the time we started our own line. And I'd been a stylist and a fashion illustrator and a fashion editor. Then I became a creative director. I lived in New York and London, and I shot all over the world and everything. And I'd been working at Morrissey for about 9 years as a creative director. And I just thought we were together. We'd been together 5 years, and we thought, let's just do something on our own where I can really express me,
yes,
rather than doing other things behind the scenes for other people. So that was kind of the initial idea behind it. The idea was also to appeal. At the time, Australian fashion was quite street influenced by the street, and it was very young. And the idea was to do something that was a bit more sophisticated and could appeal to more mature women as well. It wasn't just for girls in their 20s.
Yeah, yeah. Each of your collections has a little story behind. Where do you come up with these stories, or how do you come up with that inspiration for that particular collection?
A lot of it has to do with watching films or reading books, biographies, that'll spur an idea on.
Yeah, yeah. And what have we got? We've got autumn, winter coming up this season. What are we going to see from Jayson Brunsdon?
Well, we've done the diffusion line, which is through Maya, is less theme. It's not so thematic.
Yep.
It's a very commercial line, and it looks fantastic. But there isn't, when a girl is buying a dress, they're not particularly thinking I want to look like a Spanish princess. So they're less themed. But we do have our own very small limited edition collection, and it's very accessible and very affordable, and it's only available exclusively on our website online store. So that is possibly a little more themed, and it's quite a strong, sexy, sophisticated woman. There's been so much going on in the world with women's rights, and I think it's a time for women, and it's a good time for women to feel quite empowered.
Yes.
So true.
Yeah, yeah. I was so very honoured this year to be announced as your
God.
brand ambassador, which I'm super excited about, and I hope I do your brand very proud. Something that I love to wear. If I could wear JB every day, I would. Who do you design for? Like, when you design, who's your target market?
It isn't a very young. When I say young, I mean more by age than by attitude, I guess.
Yeah.
But it is more of a mature girl. But having said that, we get a lot of girls in their teens and their 20s wearing it as well.
Yep.
I don't think it's so age defined anymore, fashion, I guess. But it is probably a little modest as well. It's a bit more covered up.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, it's generally around the knee or just over the knee. It's not super short. You know, sometimes there's something a bit short and cute, but she's more of a, it's quite urban. She's quite an urban girl, and she's a bit sophisticated, and, you know, I don't know.
She wants to look good.
Yes.
She wants to go to the races.
Yeah.
She goes to a wedding. She's at a party and she looks $1 million. You know.
Well, everyone else is in their H&M.
Yeah. So it's a bit of all of that.
Get some good things at H&M.
Yeah.
I should work for H&M.
I think there's been a lot of designers that we've seen come and go. What has set you apart that, you know, that has allowed you to have this longevity of being in this industry?
I think we probably learnt a lot when we went through the global crash and when I went through cancer. And I think you come out of that a lot wiser.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we made some really productive decisions that at the time seemed to be terrible. We thought, oh my God, what are we really going to downsize and get rid of all of this and get rid of that, all of that? But you know, in retrospect, it was a really great idea. And I think perhaps a lot of designers don't get to that stage. They keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Like I said, like struggling artists.
Yeah.
And you just get to the point where you think, you know what, I don't want to be a struggling artist all my life.
Yeah.
So we were, I think basically we were very, very fortunate that Maya started a diffusion line with us.
Yes,
So really that's what
Saved.
that's what saved
Yeah.
us.
And I think coming to terms with reality as well. And I think, you know, in business, you know, lots of business, it's up and down all the time. So, and when you actually go through a period of your career that you lose everything, and you've come to terms with what it is like to be rock bottom, you know, to suffer all of that, to suffer losses, to suffer having to close your business, having to let the staff go, you know, having to deal with all the things that are just horrible. So I think you come to a point where you're rock bottom and then you slowly work your way up. So you've seen all the bad.
You come back in a different way.
You
really.
come back in a different way. You come back wiser. You
Yeah,
come back more cleverer. I mean, you learn how to do things in a different way, and you take less risk rather than more risk. But speaking of risk, I'm always a risk taker.
Are you the thinker? Do you like to plan and like, you know?
Yeah, I'm quite a planner. I'm a Virgo, so it's all very kind of planned out.
Yes. Yeah.
But you know, we took a lot of risks at the beginning.
We did, yeah,
You know,
we
and
did,
we
we
just
did.
didn't stop. It was just 24/7. You know,
7
7 days
days
a
a
week. It was
week.
non-stop, and we were just pushing ourselves.
Yeah.
Traveling.
So hard, traveling 4 times a
it was
year,
just
and dragging the clothes around the world and trying to sell them to stores, and it's exhausting.
bags and, you know, and
Exhausting, and fashion people are not very warm and fuzzy.
No.
So you know, when you're there in New York trying to sell for 2 weeks to some of the nastiest, scariest people in the world.
Really?
Oh yeah. It's just not. It's not that
Not
much
fun.
yeah.
But you know, we just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And like we said, we went down, and when we came back, we thought, no, we're not going to do it that way anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're just not. We're just not, because it affects you. It gets to you, and you don't want to live like that. You don't want to live like that.
Define fashion.
I think fashion at its best is a reflection of the times we all live in. I think that's pretty much what it is. I mean, we live in pretty ugly times and disruptive and anxious times at the moment, and I think fashion is a reflection of that at the moment. I think there's a lot of ugliness. I think some people think it's ugly, some people think it's fabulous. That's the way fashion is. But it's very disruptive. It's awkward. There's a clumsiness to it. The proportions are all changing and strange and quite off. And what we used to look at as being high fashion is no longer high fashion. So I think that's what fashion is. It just reflects the era.
Yeah. In 2008, your world was rocked to the core when you were diagnosed with cancer. Tell us about what went through your mind when you heard those words, you know, you've got cancer.
Well, my doctor actually told me over the phone. So I was just like, what?
Yeah.
You just
The world just came tumbling down.
So I just ran up. I was at the office actually, and I just grabbed Aaron and I said, I've got cancer. So we just had to go straight to back to the doctor and get scans and all the rest of it and blah blah blah. And I was filming Project Runway. I'd been the judge on Project Runway. So the next day we had to fly to Melbourne and film
To do the final episode.
the final episode. And I was a wreck.
Oh, you would
The
have
last thing I wanted to do. The last thing, because then I had to fly back the next day and be operated on.
Yeah. I mean, I was trembling when he told me.
Yeah.
He came running down the staircase and he said, "I've got cancer." And I go, "What? What?" Because we never thought it would be cancer. I just thought, you know, we're men, sometimes we get things in there, you know, like little lumps of stuff and nothing to worry about. Probably an antibiotic shot or something. I guess our world just came tumbling down. It was
I hadn't been feeling well though for such a long time.
Long
Because we'd
time.
been
Stressed.
stressed and so overworked. And,
Yeah.
you know, filming Project Runway was like twice a week, backwards and forwards from Melbourne.
Yeah.
And then you try and give your staff things to do. And so you're just working 7 days a week.
I believe life is littered with challenges. What have been some of your biggest challenges to get you to where you are today?
Surviving cancer for sure with you, yeah. I think mine would be dealing with issues when I was a kid and things that happened. I mean, the book would tell you everything about it, but it's having to overcome sexual abuse at a very young age, which I think that was one of the saddest things that could ever happen to any child. In fact, I just wish it never happened to anybody, you know, ever, because it's the saddest thing to
Seems to be
ever
very
do
common,
that.
though.
It is very common. It is very common. I hear stories all the time. And I went through a very, very dark period of my life from the age of 7 to 9. And then later when I became a teenager, it all came back again. And, you know, and I think it was something that was just very, very unfortunate. But I had to deal with it. I had to overcome it. I think that was the biggest challenge in my life. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't stop to think that I just wish it never happened. But it did, and I feel a stronger person. And I think that would have been the biggest challenge. The other challenge would be
Having a baby.
having a baby.
Talking about babies. We'll bring that out in a second. But yeah,
Okay.
do you think having a child's a big challenge?
Oh yeah. I mean, especially for us, we're a same-sex couple. I mean, you know, it's not like, you know, Jayson can fall pregnant or I can. I mean,
I'm too old to fall pregnant.
yeah, well, probably me
I'm
too.
menopausal at the moment.
So this is a good time to now talk about your book, Designer Baby.
Yay.
Which comes out on the 1st of April. Very excited. It's your baby. It's your second baby.
It's my second baby. It is.
It took a while, about 4 years of tears and I guess desperation, because you had to, as you said, you had to go to Thailand because Australia doesn't allow surrogacy here.
Correct,
Tell us about that journey and the challenges with that.
Well, we kind of, from the day we met, we always thought that we wanted to be parents. We always knew we wanted to be parents, and we always
you
spoke
did.
about it. Well, I did. Jason
He's
and I had
lucky
to
from word go.
push him over the line,
Yeah.
but I managed. And it was at our very first date that I said to him, well, you know, so our first date, we went to watch Life is Beautiful, and I said to him, well, look, you know, I want to be a dad by the time I get to 40. So are you in or out? I mean, at that time, and when you
This
think
is a
about it
showstopper.
now, you just think, oh my God, what a first date killer, really, you know? But
It was also,
And he came back.
It was also 1999, so the options weren't as realistic then.
yeah,
You know.
well, the options aren't as realistic now as well, but it's easier, put it this
Well,
way.
it's possible.
Possible, yeah, it is possible.
It wasn't so possible then. It was harder.
No. I mean, look, we would have considered adoption, we would have considered all of it, but it's difficult, it's grueling. The whole system is really hard. And, you know, you come to a certain age in your life and you're not allowed to adopt anymore. So there was all these things. I mean, we had not known a lot about surrogacy at all. We had, our knowledge was really minimal. And I think after cancer, when Jayson got better and we started thinking, well, you know, there's a lot more than what we just need. We know we've been together at that stage for about 15 years or 14 years, and we thought we really wanted to, it was the right time. You know, it was never the right time because it was always about, if it wasn't cancer, it was the business. If it wasn't the business, it was the GFC. It was everything, it was constant. And then we came to a point that we thought everything had been done. Everything had been accomplished. We had done whatever we had to. We had fixed everything that we need to. Now it was about concentrating about us, what we wanted. We wanted to have a family. So we were watching 60 Minutes one night, and there was a story on Trevor Elwell and Peter West, a Melbourne couple that had ventured to Mumbai to have a kid, to have a set of twins. And we both just sat there. We were paralyzed. At the end of the show, I just looked at him and I said, this is it. This is the only way. And I think you were a bit hesitant about it. He thought, well, you know, in order for anyone to recognize that this was a prospect, it wasn't as easy as they said it was, because, you know, I mean, I think the doctor said at that time in the show that all you had to do was send your sperm on a DHL package and we'll take care of the rest. And Jason's like, you know, I've just been fighting for the last 3 years, fighting for my life, you know, and now this is not going to be as easy as you think it is. You know, there's going to be some fight involved. I mean, we just didn't know how big the fight was.
You mentioned, I think, in your book that your life changed. You know, I think you got that phone call where the baby gammy thing broke, where the same sort of thing, you know, in Thailand, where the Down syndrome boy was born and they refused to take it. And then I think, you know, you guys were like, then they were starting to look at outlawing it in Thailand halfway through the process.
Well, we were about 5 months pregnant.
We just found out that we were having a boy.
We just found out, like
week before,
a day or two, a couple of days before, we found out we were having a boy. We were actually told about 2 weeks before we found out about what happened in Thailand that there was a chance that we could have a Down syndrome baby. So that in itself was a very hard thing for us. Not that there's anything wrong with Down syndrome babies. In fact, Down syndrome babies actually bring just as much joy as any other kid. They're beautiful children, you know, and a child is a child. Whatever it is, a child needs all the love. So that's what you're meant to do as parents. We were told we were having a boy, and it was the best news. I was in Singapore with my parents. I was on my way to London. And then the whole news of baby gammy just
Well, I saw it on the TV. There was no phone call or anything. It was just, I just turned on the news on a Friday morning, and there it was. Yeah. And I was on my own at home, and he was in London, and I just thought, what is going on? Yeah. And of course, the time difference, I had the whole day to get through with no contact with anybody from Thailand. No one was emailing, no one was returning phone calls.
So were you worried at that point that what's going to happen with my surrogacy? What's going to happen, you know, with our child?
Well, the news was on that morning that it was outlawed.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought, and I just went through the whole day until I could finally reach him in the evening.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, we're not going to be able to get him out.
Yeah. Well, I rang Sam straight away, and the prospect was there that we may not be able to bring him home. I mean,
did that change your life? Like, what was your thought pattern?
It was just, it was one of the most scariest thing ever. I mean, because no parents would ever want to face that. I mean, imagine what it is like to be told that they're taking your kid away from you. I mean, we're not talking about some normal kid. We're talking about our kid, our biological kid, you know. And it was a nightmare. And they said, look, and we went, what do you mean? It's our child. What are they going to do with it? I mean, we weren't the only ones. There were about, I think at that stage there were about 300 people.
Wow.
So there were about 300 couples, intended parents, that were stuck in Thailand. And the worst part about it was that we couldn't talk to anyone about it. We couldn't talk to the press. We couldn't tell anyone. As it is, from the very beginning, we were told to be tight-lipped about it because we just couldn't. I mean, with Jason's exposure to the media and, you know, being in the public eye, it was just too difficult. We just couldn't. It was, you know, it's not a subject. It's very controversial here. It's difficult. You know, it was something that we had to be very quiet about. And then on top of this happening, it was just horrible. And then what happened after was that they just said, look, you know, the prospects of bringing him home is going to be very, very difficult. And you just need to sit tight. And we were like, sit tight? I mean, this is my child, you know? I mean, I don't want to just sit tight here. If I had to go there and bring him out whichever way.
There were so many ideas going through our heads. I was going to marry the surrogate. You know, it was all very Iron Curtain stuff going on, you know, crazy ideas.
It was just crazy ideas. And then what the worst thing was that a few days later, there was this Japanese businessman who had fathered 15 children.
Wow. Through
the same reproductive technology.
He was nuts. He was
crazy.
Trying to develop his own army. or something.
So they could nominate
so
favorable
he could
Japanese
become
election.
the Prime Minister of Japan. Or something.
Something like that. Some stupid thing. And a specific clinic had performed all the embryos. And at that stage, they had called for an audit of all the 12 clinics, the key players. And our doctor was pretty much up there.
Number
He was
one.
number one. And so all the clinics were told to stop doing anything. They couldn't do anything at all. So, and we were just told to sit tight and wait for further news. And then 4 days later or 5 days later, apart from this whole baby gammy thing that was center stage, you know, BBC, NBC, CNN, Australian newspapers every day, this Japanese businessman, what's his name again, Shigera or something, he had been, his embryos was actually produced by this specific clinic, and no one knew who that clinic was. And they dug into it and started, you know, prying into it, and they found out that the clinic involved in this was our clinic.
Oh, okay.
So on August the 9th, the authorities went into the clinic and shut the entire operation down. So all the surrogate mums, all the players involved in the clinic, including our doctor, just disappeared.
So on the 5th of January 2015, baby Roman was born.
Yeah.
How has that changed your life?
Completely. Completely. It's.
And you got to bring him home, let's say that you
Yeah.
got to bring him home.
I don't think
Yeah.
we even remember what life was like
Before that,
him. It's
no,
that different. Yeah.
I mean, it changes everything, really. It changes, you know, your perception of things, and it's the joy that he brings you every day. I mean, you know, I wake up every morning smiling and happy, you know, and
Is he a
looking
good baby? Does he
Oh,
sleep?
he's happy. He's
Yeah.
a really happy boy.
so happy.
Yeah.
Very busy.
Yeah.
He's like two
He's
going
two
on
now, isn't he?
5.
It's true.
Yeah, talks away, you know. It's
He's
like,
really smart. He's curious. He's quite determined.
yeah,
And he's funny. And he's just really, really happy.
yeah.
Can you see any traits in him like that? Like
Yeah.
you know, he's obviously got your bit of you and a bit of you. Can you see?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
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 Well, I see a lot of Jayson in him,
Yeah.
and Jayson sees a lot of me in him. So, you know, it's just mannerisms and things
Yes.
and things that he would say. And, you know, he just comes up with these lines, and you think, oh, I said that. Please don't say that at school.
Yeah. On the 1st of April, we get to see, or this hits bookshelves.
Yes.
Where can people find your book and buy it?
Well, you could buy it anywhere. Booktopia, Dimmicks, Angus and Robertson, the Darlinghurst Bookshop, Amazon, Kindle. So it's
Everywhere?
it's run. It's done. The traps is all around. Yeah. So get a copy. It's
What can people expect from your book?
Well, I think personally, it's about love. Really, it is about love. It's about our love. It's about finding love. It's about believing in your dreams. It's about never losing sight of it. And it's about the love of parents, the love we have for Roman, our family love, sibling love, Rebecca and I. I think it's also interesting in a way because it's a conversation that really needs to be heard. It is an important conversation. We need it. We need to know what happened. The public and the reader needs to understand that this is highly controversial and that we are not just some petty criminals here. We are a normal traditional family that just wants to have a family. And it is the most beautiful thing ever to have a family, to have a kid. And I think that right is within anybody's right. And so hopefully my story or our story would be able to impart that love onto the reader and for them to understand what we went through during those 9 months and all our lives. And I just hope they'll love it. I hope they'll love the story, and I hope they'll find it a good read. Yeah.
Would you ever go back and do round 2?
Ooh, that's a question we get asked every day. Every day.
Little girl.
Look,
little
you know
girl
what?
for
It
Roman,
was-
little brother or sister for Roman.
It
That
was
wasn't on the
such
list,
a-
by the way.
It was such an ordeal. Like it really is. It's a long, hard road
It
for
is,
same-sex
yeah,
couples.
absolutely.
And anyone who needs to use IVF as well, you know,
Yes,
heterosexual
it's true.
couples.
Yeah.
And I kind of think Roman was a gift So I don't think we should push it myself.
Yeah.
Push the boundaries.
Yeah.
Define Roman, Aaron.
Lovable, joyful, busy, very busy, and the love of our lives. Really, he is the center of our lives. He is what makes us wake up every morning and
Well,
want
he
to
wakes
move
us up
forward.
every
Well, he wakes us up and make us want to move forward and make us better people, stronger people, and this unconditional love that we give him every day. It's just, there's just no words to express how it feels.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show today and telling us all about your beautiful journey and your story and all about your brand new book, Designer Baby. I've got a little gift for you.
Oh,
Let me grab
you.
it. It's
That's
a
so
little
sweet.
wine o'clock goodie bag.
No.
So in there we've got a bottle of Jayson, who are our wine sponsors. The wine glass pen company give us glasses. You can sign your glasses with your
Oh, how
wine glass.
cute.
And Yogi Beans, there's a beautiful
Yay.
water jug in there for you as
Thank
well.
you very
Fantastic.
much.
Yeah.
That's very
Thank you.
sweet.
And a 1 o'clock wine glass, of course.
Oh, brilliant.
you
Wonderful.
go.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.